Jamil, could it be a repeat of 2016?
Well, Emily, I think there's certainly a good chance that it not only will be a repeat, but it'll actually be worse than 2016, because not only do we have the Russians involved, they're getting more bold, but we also now apparently have the Iranians involved. And I think there's a significant chance we might see the Chinese involved too. So I'm actually worried, not just about 2016, but something even more.
So why are you more worried? Why do you think it could be worse? And what would the impact of that be?
Well, look, obviously what these actors really like to do is they like to create chaos. They like to create discord. And if you look at what happened in 2016, the Russians were phenomenally effective. In fact, I argue that this will be viewed as one of the most effective covert influence operations in history. They've tied us in knots for the last 4 years. We've been at each other's throats for a lot of reasons, not just about cyber influence by Russia, but that's played a huge role. In a lot of ways, they've poured gasoline on the fire of disagreements that we have here in America already, and they're continuing to do more of that. And now you see the Iranians apparently getting involved, spoofing Proud Boys emails to Democratic voters to ostensibly suppress the vote, although it's odd because the Iranians don't really love Donald Trump, so you wonder why they might be trying to suppress Democratic votes. I think what's going on here is really an effort to really just cause chaos in our electoral system.
Right. As you suggest, the politics, trying to find a straight line here, it gets a little bit confusing. In your view, from what we know now, does this mean that the integrity of our election is already being undermined and will be undermined? Like, can we trust the results?
Well, I actually think we can trust the results, Emily. And the reason why I think that is to actually affect election results will be very hard. And I actually think our nation state adversaries, even though we haven't done a particularly good job of deterrence, recognize that that might be a bridge too far. But what they're doing very effectively is undermining our own confidence in those results by casting doubt on it. And of course, we've seen our own elected officials do the same thing. Unfortunately, our elected officials saying things like this might be the most corrupt election in history actually plays right in the hands of our adversaries like the Russians, the Iranians, the Chinese. And so we've really got to try and build credibility in these elections, not try to undermine it, whether it's elected officials here in the United States or our foreign adversaries who are trying to do just that.
Now, you actually think efforts to sow misinformation and discord and chaos will last until well after the election. How so?
I do. You know, Emily, we've seen that actually take place here post-2016. It wasn't like the Russian election interference just stopped in 2016 and then restarted around the 2018 elections. They continued to try and stoke discord, right? We've seen from the podium of the foreign ministry in China, the Chinese expressed concerns about Black Americans, the Black Lives Matter. Let's be clear. The Chinese do not care about Black Americans. They're interning over 1 million Muslims in the Xinjiang province, right? That's not something they care about. So they're overtly trying to undermine American interests and trying to get us at each other's throats. And we saw them do the same thing on coronavirus. We've seen the Russians do the same. And if they're doing it overtly, they're almost certainly doing it covertly also. And so it may not be an effort to just create new narratives, but actually to amplify existing discord in America and to make it worse and to sort of throw gas on this fire that's already burning here in our country.
So what can be done now, or is it too late?
Well, look, I think, Emily, with respect to the elections, I think we're actually in okay shape in the sense that I think the elections and the vote tallies will be fine. Might election infrastructure face some challenges with the voting rolls and potentially with the websites on the day of? We may see some challenges there, particularly with ransomware. But I'm confident in the ultimate vote tallies being cast. I think what we have to look going forward is how do we make ourselves more resilient and resistant to this type of activity? One, it involves civic education. Interactions with one another and not play into the hands of our enemies. And finally, we really need to bring the federal government, the state government, and private industry together to really collectively defend one another and recognize that going up against the nation state, no one company, no one state can do it on their own.
Now, we're all going to be bombarded with messages over the next couple of weeks as we head towards the election. My inbox is full. What can we as voters do? You know, is there anything in particular that we can or should be more aware of?
Yeah, I think, look, Emily, the best thing voters can do is be skeptical, right? Recognize that all the emails you get in your inbox, the stuff you see on social media, it may not be fact. And what you want to do is go out, figure out what the facts are. If you're in California or other states, read about those ballot propositions, understand what's being put into those, who's behind them, and what your personal view on that is. And don't be influenced by what you're seeing on social media. Also, those algorithms tend to drive you in extreme directions because they're designed to have you see people that agree with you. That is not really good for finding a middle ground on these political issues. And so what I would encourage Americans to do is be skeptical, dive deep in the issues, and go out and vote, because that's the most important thing. Cast your vote, do it with confidence. That's the best thing we can do with this election, Emily.
Absolutely. Vote, vote, vote. Now, if you are more concerned about 2020 than 2016, does that mean we've made no progress? Like, did we not learn anything from 2016?
Emily, I think we learned a lot. I'm not sure we're effective enough in our response. Look, the U.S. Cyber Command has done great work conducting what they call persistent engagement, right? Defending forward, engaging the enemy overseas and trying to get ahead of them. But the fact of the matter is that we have not yet done enough to effectively deter countries like Russia and China and Iran from interfering in our elections and conducting other types of cyber attacks, including the theft of intellectual property. And so we've got to do more as a nation to harden our systems, defend them, but we also have to go on the offense. The best defense, Emily, is a good offense, and making other countries recognize if they come after us, they will pay a price. We've not done enough of that. The Cyber Command needs more authority. We need to give them more room to operate and really push back against our enemies in cyberspace.